Blessings. Welcome to today's Law Enforcement Daily Devotional. We're in Leviticus chapters 15, 16, and 17. And we pick up where we left off yesterday as far as regulations and God giving this understanding or knowledge of what to do when someone finds themselves in a situation where they're unclean. And chapter 15 deals with this uncleanliness and what to do about it. And then we jump into 16, and 16 had a really cool thing. I remember when I first realized this and what it meant and how it stuck with me. And so I want to share this with you. Maybe you've been under or didn't know this either. However, you ever heard the term scapegoat? And I'm sure most of us have heard the term scapegoat. But do you know what a scapegoat is? There was a time where I had no idea, and I came across this one day and I was like, oh my goodness, scapegoat is something that came from the Bible. It came from the Hebrews when they were wandering around the desert here in the book of Leviticus. And it's kind of, man, it's a really neat concept that as a Christian, we need to know because it's significant, and you'll see the similarities and probably who this is referring to. Scapegoat. So Aaron, once a year, it's called the Day of Atonement. He would take two goats and he would bring them into the temple area and he would cast lots for them. And one goat would be sacrificed to the Lord, but the other goat, Aaron would put his hands, both hands on the head of this goat, and he would confess the sins of Israel. And then they would give the goat to a designated person, probably a Levite, and he would take this goat and he would walk it out way far away from camp to what the Bible calls a secluded place in the desert. And then they would let this goat go. They wouldn't sacrifice it. But the thought was when he put his hands on the goat's head and he confessed all of Israel's sins, symbolically all the sins of Israel would go to this one goat, and this one goat would be the sacrifice for all the sins of the entire nation, and they would let it go. And the purpose was to get it as far away from camp as you could, because you're casting off the sins. The sins are no longer in the camp. They're cast off into the desert, hopefully never to return again. That's what a scapegoat is. And pretty cool to know the meaning behind it and know that our God put this practice in place. We see this practice played out again later on when one person takes on all of the sins of humanity and takes them away. What a beautiful picture and foreshadowing of the coming of Jesus Christ. I don't want to skip chapter 18 real quick. It goes back into do not eat blood. We saw this 2-3 days ago when it says don't eat the fat of an animal or blood. Well, this one is specifically about do not eat the blood. And in 18 verse 11 it says, for the life of a creature is in its blood. I always thought that was really interesting. The life of the creature is not the heart, but if the heart doesn't have blood that pumps through it, the animal doesn't live. But then again, if an animal's just got blood in it, it doesn't have a heart, it's not living. But God says, for the life of a creature is in the blood. Yeah, really, really cool statement. But anyway, scapegoat, really neat. And as we go through the Bible, I just love the fact that we continue to see things that help us grow in our relationship with God, help us to recognize that Jesus Christ is in the Old Testament, which tells us how important this Old Testament book is and how important it is for us to understand the Old Testament as well as the New Testament. Anyway, tomorrow we're in Leviticus. I did this yesterday. Leviticus 18, 19, and 20. So read ahead, come back tomorrow, and let's find a law enforcement takeaway. Be safe.